the age of 7, he was given diagnosis of autistic spectrum disorder, but remained in mainstream education until he was 12. When he moved to secondary school, things became more difficult. He was reading and writing okay and could communicate well, but he would often pretend to understand things when he didn't. As he got older, I could see the gap getting bigger. He told his family that he was being bullied, okay, and began to display tics, chants, stamping, and head turning. Very typical of overwhelmed autistic kids who then, after the overwhelm gets even larger, it often does result then in some form of violent outlash. The answer is remove them from the source of bullying. The answer is help them learn coping methods. But I understand the parents didn't have the help with that they needed. This is on the fucking government. This is on our fucking NHS and support system. This is on our fucking schools at this stage. He was given a diagnosis of Tourette's syndrome as well as moderate learning difficulties. He found it difficult to keep friends. In 2011, he became physically aggressive towards his mother and was admitted to Alder Hey Children's Hospital for one night. He was put on the antipsychotic medication sulpiride to treat his Tourette's. I've never heard of that. Following fatal... Oh god, this thing's deadly. This shit's deadly. The very first thing I'm reading there is about how it's deadly. Okay, that's all I need to read. Cool. IMO. I've never heard of it, so it's not being used anymore, is it? Great stuff. To treat his Tourette's. But his family believe, and his family are probably right here, that it made his physical aggression worse. If his physical aggression got worse after being put on it, it made his physical aggression worse, yes. And the lack of treatment he was probably receiving as well. Come on, Eileen, that's hilarious. Jesus Christ, Chad. It's fucking horrific. It's absolutely horrific. It's not how to deal with these situations. At the age of 14, his behaviour and mental state began to deteriorate, and Nicola moved in with her parents so that she could help handling him. By this time, he was regularly lashing out at his grandparents, mother, and older brother. So, single parent who needs help from her own parents in order to support and raise this kid. What he really needed was more support from the council. What they needed as a family was support, right? Not just doping this kid up on meds that the entire family kept saying to the doctors was making him worse. But you there, as, regular people, I'm not going to lie, I've seen it with you guys. People don't have the confidence to take themselves off the meds. They listen to their doctors. Doctors are the law. I'm a bit different just because I've had so many bad interactions with drugs. The doctors have prescribed me that I'm jaded. And these days I try to work on it a bit. But honestly, the reality is if you think a medication is doing something bad to you, it's your fucking body. It's your fucking life, not theirs. If you think the meds you're taking are hurting you, you take them. You take yourself off it. He still thinks he's too dangerous to go out in public when he's probably not. They were bullying him and his life won't be like that, but he's got PTSD and trauma from that incident. He'll have had PTSD and trauma from the way he's being bullied anyway. And then that incident will have left him with such severe PTSD and trauma. Those of us who haven't been physically manhandled, tackled, and assaulted by adult members of the law carrying guns will never fully understand. Now, maybe those of us who have been physically assaulted and other ways by men when we've been powerless can understand, to be fair. A PTSD, yeah, actually, no, I take that back. A PTSD some of you truly can understand, and for the worst fucking reasons. When you really start to think about what, you read it and it's like, yeah, that's bad. And then you really think about it, you bring out that metaphor I love to make. 12-year-olds are tiny. Imagine you're upset because people are picking on you and you're powerless. And then Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson comes along and tackles you and fucking shit. Because that's the size difference between a 12-year-old and an officer of the law. Right? 12-year-old tiny as fuck. Doesn't matter how big the biggest 12-year-old is. It's so fucking tiny as fuck for a full-grown adult man. Of course they are. Tiny. Officer of the law. Fucking most terrifying thing you can imagine. I'm guessing you mean in America too, so they had guns, right? Or do you mean over in Scotland? Is it Scotland? No, in America, guns. Fuck. So, guns aimed at him. The only way I can imagine that, the only thing I can imagine that's horrific, absolutely horrific and PTSD inducing completely. That's as bad as, you know, the people that held me down and sexually assaulted me. You're powerless. Fucking guns in your face. Poor child will be fucked by that for life. That level of PTSD. It doesn't mean he won't live a successful life either. That doesn't mean he won't get through it. But you don't. I know I'm never going to let go of a certain part. You know? I will move through my life and learn and move past it every day as better and better as I can. But I know in this world I live in, I will never let go of a certain part. Because how can I, in this world we live in, when I see reminders of it on a daily basis, how will that child move past it when his entire world will forever remind him of it on a daily basis? So no matter how much he gets through it, he'll always be fucked a little bit by it, always. He went home and tried Google clocks trying to find a time machine. He's a 12-year-old. He went home and Googled clocks trying to find a time machine. They pointed guns at this child's head. And like a child, he tried to Google a time machine. Holy fuck. Oh, okay. That's 2 days in a row you've made me cry, and for a totally different reason this time. That's horrible. So sorry for you and your family, truly. That's so good of you, man. That's so good of you. From the conversations I've had with you, I think you must be a good person. I try to have a good read on people. I really, I feel so horrible for him. That's what I mean. All of us, most of us here, through our PTSDs, can truly understand. But at the same time, that's so distinctly he was a child. At least at 15, I was there Googling violent ways to get revenge and going on depressing forums. He was Googling a time machine. We've all wanted a time machine, but have we been such a child to Google one, how to find one? Because we were truly give. Oh, he is not dangerous. And I truly hope that you and others can help him understand that it was those that pointed guns at him that are dangerous and he is innocent. I, that really. That's really good, man. I fucking. Thank you for sharing that with us. That's tough, dude. That's really tough, man. Like, that's not. That's not a world. That's not an experience. Any child. And in first world America, developed first world America. Look at them over there in Afghanistan, over there in Iraq and Iran. All their kids growing up with PTSD because people walk around pointing guns in their faces, bombs going off. Send your kid to school in America. And if it's not a school shooter, it's the police. And the reality is, it's more often the police. The reality is, it's most often the people that are legally allowed to walk around and point guns at people. An armed police should never be used to arrest or deal with anything involving children in such a manner, ever. Because he was screaming, being bullied. Yeah, as that kid that was constantly picked on and beaten up and assaulted and things like that, and would occasionally get overwhelmed and lash out and start screaming and crying in class because I was getting picked on by the kids that were physically assaulting me and stuff, and then would end up in detentions because of that sort of thing, but never with the police. I understand it's that fraction of a degree. That fraction of a degree. For me, I understand. God, another just thank you so much to all of you guys. You are amazing for the compassion and decency and you show that enables us to share these things and talk about these things so well. As upsetting as it is to learn these things, thank you for sharing them with me. Because we shouldn't live with blinkers on our eyes. If we can't see what's happening to our fellow man, we stop seeing them as humans. If we don't look at them and ignore their stories, they stop being human beings. And we ignore them. We have to know this stuff. I just hate that this had to happen to somebody you love. I hate it with all my heart. Kids like him should. How do you not restrain yourself from punching those people squarely in the face? Probably a much more patient person than I am. I am not. I'm a psychopath, and I have violent outbursts. Have done in the past. I've been better since being on meds. No violent outbursts since being medicated, but still. Oh, unmedicated Pete would. Again, it's like when on my birthday I got pushed by all the boys in my class, literally carried by all the boys in my class into the boys' changing rooms. 16 other boys in there decided to. I mean, this isn't the worst thing that happened to me, but this is just one of the funny stories. We decided instead of birthday beats that year for my 15th birthday, instead of 15 birthday beats each, they'd do, because I was the fat boy with moobs, they'd do 15 nipple cripples each. which resulted in them still giving me birthday beats, punching me, and just all of them grabbing at whatever they could grab on my overweight, obese body, and grab anything they could and twist and rip. And I was left in there crying for an hour until the PE teacher, the dance teacher, interestingly came in and found me and was just like, instantly could see what had happened. Told me just to go straight. He was like, he was like, do you want me to call you? Can I call your mum? I was like, yep. And got my mum to come pick me up and sent me. Oh no, mum was at work, so he was just like, you can just walk home if you want to. It was like all the kids were in class, and he was just like, just if you need to go home, just go home. Because like my shirt was like my white shirt was pink at that point, just bleeding everywhere, and yeah, and so obviously my mum, when she got home, called up the head of year, had to tell them and talk to them and have a yell at them. And the next day, they held an assembly for the entire year group to tell them all off for bullying Peter Miles and 7AF and 10AF, and that from now on, nipple crippling in the school was banned. And after that, I had to move tutor groups. And after that, I just stopped going to school. So there's that one little angle of me that gets it. I have lots of hatred for the ways adults deal with bullied children and make their lives so much worse. And often, if any of you watched an anime called Assassination Classroom, I swear to God, the main villain in that series is many schools' real teachers. I swear they actually have the mindset of the psychotic evil main villain in that series. And his whole thing is he's the school principal. And his whole way of keeping the school in order is by having a bottom set made up of impoverished, worse performing kids that are just as smart as the other kids because of their lack of money. They're more impoverished in general. They just do worse, or they have behavioural disorders, maybe they're autistic or something and get bullied. And so they end up in the bottom set class, and the upper set kids are encouraged to bully them, actively encouraged by the way the teachers act by dismissing them, and ignoring the bullying problems in order to make the elite kids feel more elite. And it's to make the elite kids afraid of dropping down into those lower sets. They have to be afraid of ever joining those lower groups in order to inspire them to work harder. And that's literally how my old school operated. Literally. I have no doubt at all in my head. Yeah. My attendance at that point dropped from being, about 85% down to about 15%. I stopped going to school at that point. After that assembly. Yeah, I moved tutor groups, but I just couldn't. Moving tutor groups didn't mean anything. I wanted to move school. College, I purposefully picked everyone in my school, being elite Tory snobs, went to a school in the local rich town. None of them wanted to go to the poor college where the chavvy kids went. So I went to that college. I went to the poor chavvy kids college to get away from them all, and thus met people that were normal at last and had a really good first year. I really enjoyed first year of college. First year was really good. Second year was absolute hell. When at the start of second year, I started drinking a lot. But I went to a house party, and I have no regrets of this now, and it shouldn't have made life hell. In fact, life should have improved after this. but this will tell you a lot about 2007. The best year in anime, the worst year in England. And no, yeah, 2007. And yeah, that was the first month of college. There was a big house party, and went to the house party, got drunk, and that's where I made out with Ryan Dunn. You know, properly. It was my first ever drunken kiss make out session. And yeah, it was with the weird emo kid. And that was the early days of smartphones, and everyone was like, ooh, take a photo of Pete making out with another guy, and you know, upload that all over Facebook and print out photos of that and stick photos of me making out with Ryan all around the college. And again, back then, gay was bad. Gay equaled bad. And yeah, these days it'd be a very different thing. I think these generations of kids are so much better in so many ways. Shouldn't have been a bad thing that happened to me. As I say, should have actually, if anything, just made life better. Should have been like, oh, because yeah, I enjoyed it, but the bullying made sure, the ostracization and the isolation that followed it made sure that I couldn't. When you have fucking...
Never take your own life. Listen, 5 Brit Mac. Never take your own life.
Dude, what did you just do? Dude, are you insane?
Never take your own life. Listen, 5 Brit Mac.
Dude.
Never take your own life.
Dude. Dude. Are you insane?
Never take your own life. Listen, 5 Brit Mac. Never take your own life. Never take your own life. Listen, 5 Brit Mac. Never take your own life. Never take your own life. Listen, 5 Brit Mac. Never take your own life.
Guys, I don't deserve this much. I don't deserve this much. Because I really do need
Never take
tissues,
your own
actually.
life. Listen, 5 Brit Mac. Never take your own life.
Dude, thank you so much.
Never take your own life. Listen, 5 Brit Mac.
I don't know what to say.
Never take your own life. Listen, 5 Brit Mac. Never take your own life.
Just seriously, thank you so much. All shaky.
Never take your own life. Listen, 5 Brit Mac. Never take your own life.
It was shaky. I always collapsed there. Oh god, you guys could still hear it. Why didn't you tell me you could still hear it? I muted it for myself, but you could still hear it. Guys, why didn't you tell me you could still hear it? I muted it for myself, but I thought I'd muted it for you. I'm so sorry. That was too emotional to see that the barb was moving. Basically, I've just been saying thank you a lot. And I can't remember now. Every emotion. I felt every single emotion. This is literally in the space of 10 minutes. I went through the utmost pit of furious rage, sadness, depression into the absolute altitudes of joy and feeling thankful, gracious, feeling... I need a bong. Can't do words because brain emotion. Wow.